Welcome to my YouTube channel, Surowicz Watercolor. This video is one in a series of videos I'm doing of Christmas cards for 2020. I hope you enjoy this, and if you do enjoy my channel, be sure to subscribe by clicking on the icon in the lower right hand corner if you haven't already. And if you do like this video, be sure to like it and share it with others. This is my 2020 Christmas card number 11. You can find the link for the template for this in the description of the video. Hi everybody, this is Rick. I'm back in my studio and I'm continuing to work on my 2020 Christmas card series. And this is Christmas card number 11. This is going to be the next to last card that I'm going to do. And this one's going to involve snowflakes. If you can see, I've lightly drawn some lines here, and this is the template for this. So just two large snowflakes. Just some simple lines with some cross hatching coming off of them to suggest the snowflake. And I transferred that to here, but I didn't draw all the little cross hatching. I'm just going to do that using masking fluid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fine line masking pen to make my snowflakes, and I'm going to splatter some masking fluid on here, let it dry, and then I'm just going to come over here with a big dark wash. So I'm going to go ahead and start to mask this. So you don't need a lot of pressure when you use one of these pens. Generally, it kind of comes out like a it's almost like using a rolling pen, and sometimes it'll just keep flowing out like it is right now. I don't really have much pressure on this. And I want these lines to be wide enough that they can be seen. So I might just go back over them a little bit. And now I'm going to put some of these little crosshatch marks coming off the lines to create the suggestion of a snowflake. So this isn't a real complicated thing that we're doing here. It does require masking fluid though. I know some people don't want to use the masking fluid, but this particular card is going to use some masking fluid. Just very simple angular marks. As I said, I'll be using some splatter on this card too, and I want to do this part before I do the splatter. I'm going to add a little bit more. Now I have a smaller snowflake here, so once again I'm making these linear marks. And then I'll do the cross hatching. A little smaller now. There's my computer coming to life, I think. And we'll get the last one here. I might just put a couple dashes out here a little farther out from the main line, and maybe just some lines here. You can experiment with this. Alright, so now I want to cap this right away. If you don't cap these quickly, they do tend to clog up. Next, I'm going to take a jar my masking fluid, and if you want, you can just take a squeeze bottle and squeeze it. I'm using a toothbrush here. You can squeeze it into the toothbrush. I'm going to dip it into my jar. And I've rinsed this brush with soapy water so it'll clean up easier. And now I'm just going to splatter. I've got some, actually too big of drops there, so what I'm going to do is, you can see these where I had too much on here. I should have taken some of this off. What I'll do is I'll let this dry, and before I begin to paint, I'm going to lift those off. Those are just too big, and the easiest way to deal with that is just to lift them off before you paint, but you need to wait till they're dry. So I'm just splattering this randomly. I'm going a little heavier on the left side than the right side, just to create a little variation, and so it's not so much the same everywhere. So this area is a little heavier. Now when I pull the bristles back and I do this, when I do that using this technique, I get a finer spray. When I tap it on my hand, I get larger drops. So I just want to create the suggestion that there's some, this is a big, a lot of snow flying around here, and I've got these large snowflakes. So that's enough right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry, and I'll come back and I'm going to put a dark wash over that. Hi everybody, this is Rick, and I am back with my Christmas card number 11, and I've let the masking fluid dry, and I've removed a couple of the big drops that I didn't want. Once it dried, I just pulled them off. And all we're going to do now is just put a wash over top of this, a dark value wash that's going to really let this the areas that we mask stand out. So I'm going to take a 1-inch flat brush, and I want a dark value mixture here. So I'm going to be using royal blue. And get enough pigment in this mixture. There we go. And then I'm going to put that on. I'm going to start with the royal blue. I'm going to bring in some mauve. So there's no right or wrong to this. I just want it to be fairly dark. And because I have all this masking fluid, it's going to puddle in areas. And I'll pick some of that excess up here in time with my my brush. So there's that. So now let's get some mauve. If you don't have mauve, you can mix it using a dark blue with a alizarin crimson or something like that. You can get a kind of a violet, nice violet color. So I'm going to take some more of the blue. I want to have more of one color than the other, so I'm going to go a little heavier with the royal blue that I'm using. If you don't have royal blue, you could use another dark value. You could use ultramarine, you could use Prussian, you could use some indigo. Get a little more pigment here, the royal blue. I want to make sure that it's pretty dark. Because remember, your paint's going to dry lighter than it appears when it's wet. It's going to dry up, pick up that excess. So I think I want to get a little bit more of the royal blue and try and go a little thicker and get that to flow in around that masking fluid. A little darker here. Just try to get a little shift in value going on in here. Not much, not going to be able to get a lot, but I can get a little bit going on because it's all pretty dark value. Alright, I think we might be good with that. A little more mauve in there. Now, I'm going to pick up some of this excess paint. I just take the moisture off my brush. It's a damp brush, and I'm going to go in and touch some of these areas to pick up a little bit of that extra paint that's caught in those areas that are masked before I dry this. heats up. And get a little darker. Now I'm going to dry this. Pick up a little bit here or there. Alright, I've dried this, and I could take the masking fluid off right now, but I think I want to try and go a little darker. I'm going to switch to a round brush here. So I'm going to put another layer on this, and I'm going to perhaps soften this as I put some of this on with a fine mist spray. This these pre-made cards, even though it's 140 pounds, I'm not convinced that it holds up quite as well as the paper that I normally work with, so it may not take as much of the spraying as I normally do, but I'm going to use a little bit of that spray. Soften that. Alright, so now I've got a little darker and some variation going on in there. And now let me dry this one more time, and I think we'll be good to take off the masking fluid. Alright, this is thoroughly dry. So I'm going to take my pickup eraser here. You could use your fingers to rub it off. You could use masking tape. So there, I have my snowflakes, and right here I kind of lost my line. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this drafting tape. I should have gone a little thicker with a line in here. I lost that, or I might have picked it up by mistake when I was picking up one of those large drops. So what I'm going to do is come back in and lift out a stronger linear element here. There we go. So I'm taking a magic eraser. This is one of these clean, Mr. Clean things that you use to clean walls, doors, bathrooms with. It's damp. Now I'm just going to lift out a little stronger line there. And I actually should clean that out a little bit better. It's actually kind of interesting. And just going to break that line up a little bit. Kind of like actually how that wash came in. I might just do a little of that here and there. And now let me dry this, and I'll take it off. Alright, that's dry. This is a good example of where you let watercolor be watercolor. I intended just to take off the masking fluid and leave it. But after I lifted that linear element out of there. I kind of, and I got a little bit of the paint running. I kind of like that, so I did a little bit more of that. I kind of like that wash better than if it were just all white. So let's take this tape off. Edges there, and there's our Christmas card. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is the next to the last card that I'll be doing, and you can find the template for the little snowflakes, but really it's pretty easy just to draw them yourself. You can find that on my website and the link in the description of the video. So happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy painting this.